day number 4. We're on to day number 4. If you're first time joining me, I'm doing 30 days straight every day, jumping in here live, different times of the day, just to share some compositional tips with you. So today we're talking about, and if you've watched every day, welcome back. So today we're talking about another compositional technique called reading from left to right, or left to right as it's commonly known. And I'll explain to you what that is, why it works, and when it doesn't work, and also another variation of it, which is more of a design element or design principle. So yeah, fantastic. So I've had a couple of people reach out email saying they're really enjoying this, which is fantastic. I really appreciate that. Let me just kill the volume on that. I've gone fully mobile today, so I don't have my laptop here like normal because I'm rendering a video, and so that's taking up all the CPU on that. And so I've got my phone here, so if you've got any comments, I will still see them on the phone here. All right. Okay, left to right, what is it? So when you read a book or you read a piece of text, which way do you read? Most of us, not all of us, most of us read a page from left to right. Now, depending on your culture, your background, some text is read from right to left. So that's why this theory sometimes just doesn't work. So when we talked about, well, let's go back a step. So day 1, we talked about how to straighten the photo, why it's important to have a straight horizon, that sort of thing. I showed you a technique, how to straighten it, the best way of straightening it. And then we talked about visual anchor and focal points. So with left to right, what you want to do is you want to have that main visual anchor, that main subject, the hero of your story, the hero of your composition, the one thing you want them to see first. Then you want to have that on the left side. Now, where am I pointing on the camera? Your left, my whatever. The left side, doesn't matter where I point. And then you want the person, the viewer, and even if it's yourself looking at this photo in years to come when you've forgotten the moment and the memory, and this helps you with your recollection of what happened that day or whatever, then reading from left to right, you pick up that main subject, and then you scan and you move across to the right, just like you read text. Now, and then that creates visual hierarchy. So it's another compositional thing, is hierarchy of those focal elements. So then that's the first thing you see, and then you might want the next main thing you want to see to be right next to it, and you're creating a sequence, and you create repetition, sequencing, whatever you want to call it. You just bang, 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 and then sometimes you might want the viewer to go from there up to there, back to there, and then we incorporate the leading lines to do that. But basically, initially when they read the photo, they have them look at the left side of the frame first. One of the Gestalt theories of design is simplicity, and so basically when someone looks at the photo, the way the eye and brain communicates to each other is they instantly try and break down the whole scene into chunks. And then when you break it down into chunks, you go, main element, that okay, I get it. I get what's happening in front of me. So that's why this is so powerful. Now I have an example here, and now, here we go. That works straight away. And you can see there the pier. The pier kind of picks up your eye because as we covered in a couple of days ago, day number 2, the emphasis, the size of that pier is dominant, and that kind of picks up your eye. Now, another thing that attracts our attention is the bright sun over on the other side of the frame. But because that is a lower hierarchy, it's smaller, it's further away, the eye doesn't go there immediately. But because the pier is nice and big and wide, dominates the scene, we kind of pick up on that, and then we flow around towards the sun. So we're effectively reading this image from left to right. Now the other example from right to left is that one there. Now, like I said, that it doesn't always work. Now, I use this example, this exact photo. Actually, I use this example when I present at camera clubs and run online workshops. That which one do you prefer? And I'll ask people, which one do you prefer? And I'll bring it up side by side for you here. Well, did that work? There we go. Oh, lovely. The technology is working. So basically, now you can compare the two. And in the comment below, let me know which one you find works for you. Which photo do you find uh, harmony, balance? Is it aesthetically pleasing? Now, this is what I love about photo editing and playing around with photography. There is no right and wrong. We have these guidelines, these principles, techniques. They're all there to help us understand how the majority of people will interpret your photo and understand your photo, react to your photo, and depending on what the purpose of the photo, the intention of the photo, there might even be a call to action that you want them to do. So there is no right way or wrong way. There's just these ideas. And I've mentioned this before. I don't want you to get hung up on, okay, now Mike told me that I have to do the main thing on the left. Okay, I'm going to have to move myself around, move these things around. You don't. Just experiment, and there is no right and wrong. And so anyway, for me personally, the top one works for me because the round to the left to the right works for me. Now, Terry in our community, and actually I'll put up a link to our community. There we go. And I will remove that, and have just me. There we go. So Terry in our community has a background in newspaper advertising, and he said the prime spot that people can pay for advertising is actually in the top left corner of the page, and because they understand and they know that people go from the top left and then they actually go diagonally through the photo down to the bottom right. They take it as much as quickly as they can by going bang, bang. And then he said, then what they do is they then go up the right-hand side up to the top. So see how your different experiences, backgrounds, and knowledge and that sort of thing kind of change the way, because I would have thought that people would scan like that. But in my ignorance, I had no idea. And Terry said that the most cheapest place to place an ad and less effective, probably, that's why it reflects in the price, is down the bottom left corner. So I just found that fascinating. So down the bottom there I have a link, smartphonephotography.club. That'll take you to the website, smartphonephotographytraining.com, but it'll take you to a particular page, that's URL there, where you can join the free community. It's free for now, and we have a forum in there, which is fantastic. I post tips in there every day, just like I'm doing at the moment with these live composition tips. In there I post a tip every day, and there's discussions there, there's photo themes, all that sort of thing. All my free tutorials, fully unlocked, are in there. My free and paid courses are all in there as well. So that's a great place to go and get access to. It's kind of a central repository, if you like, of all my best stuff. All right. So does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Like I said, let me know which one you like, the top one or the bottom one. Actually, let's call it that. Top or bottom? That's probably the easiest way. I did have another one of these with the numbers 1, 2, but top or bottom? Let me know which one you think. It'll be interesting to see as we go down the comments to see whether there's a clear winner. I'm always surprised. I would have thought that the top one, that one there, the top one, would be a clear winner, but it's not always the case. All right, just looking at my notes because I have a few things here that I wanted to talk about. So. Now, in some areas, like in the army, they actually teach you to scan from right to left. Now, the reason for that is that our brains are amazing. Like just doing all this research for this stronger photo composition 4-step system, where I've researched and break down over 100 different compositional techniques and tools. I fully geeked out. I've looked at all sorts of different things outside of photography to help understand why we read and interpret photos the way we do. And I've just lost my train of thought. Anyway, oh yes, and the connection between our eyes and our brain, because our eyes take in so much, and we have our foveation, where the central part of our vision is highest resolution, and then we have peripheral vision. And we can't, when we're scanning a scene, we cannot take in all that information. So our brain actually fills in the blanks, and it will we'll actually make up stuff. Like it's really fascinating. So when you scan from left to right, because that's our natural way of scanning, we don't actually pick up on everything. So in the army, they actually teach you to scan from right to left, or the opposite of what you normally do. So if your background in your text is up and down or right to left, and you do the opposite. And so by scanning from right to left, you're forced to take in more information as you scan, which is really fascinating. Okay, another variation of this. It's a totally different kind of technique, but I wanted to mention this one. Let me bring up the page here. That worked. Beautiful. And I will bring up, there's the link to learn more about that 4-step system. And I'll talk about that in a moment, just really briefly. But here, this is another variation of right to left. Now, you can see here, photo of the bee, and I've basically, it's the same photo, and I've just flipped it. The one on the left of the screen there, where it goes from bottom right to top left, that's called a sinister diagonal. And the one on the right, from bottom left to top right, that one's called a baroque diagonal. Now, I'm going to talk about diagonal lines and vertical horizontal lines later on in this 30-day kind of series that I'm doing. But this is really interesting. Diagonal lines work really well because it takes you're actually introducing the viewer through the photo, and they're traversing through the photo, and it's taking longer to get from one point to a diagonal point instead of just going up and down or left and right. Like we scan that so quickly. It's like skim reading. And from David, I can't sleep, so I'm here to learn. Fantastic. I'll put you to sleep. Yeah, so this is, so if you imagine yourself walking out the front door of your home, okay, and you walk out, open the door, you walk out, where do you look? Now, if you don't look down first, you'll end up tripping over that Amazon package that's been delivered. So we typically look down to where we're walking. So again, I'm trying to show you our natural behavior and our natural way of scanning and reading the scenes, because that's when you look at a photo, that's visual communication. That's what we're doing. So when you step out the front door, you look down, and then you look, and then from there you look up, and then you look up. Again, natural for me, it's scanned from left to right. So that's why with this bee example here, when I look at this bee, it makes sense for me to scan from the bottom left to the top right. Now, I don't know why it's called sinister diagonal, the other one. I haven't been able to find out. So if anyone knows, please throw a comment below and educate all of us. But that's why that works. That from bottom left to top right, because we scan things. And you see that in landscape photography as well. A lot of the foreground interest are down the bottom of the frame. Sometimes it's off to the side edge, which is fantastic, especially when you have that symmetry, or not so much symmetry, but the balance of having a foreground interest on both sides, because that kind of creates framing, which is a whole other area that I'll go into. And so foreground interest quite often is down the bottom of the frame, and it's the same principle. We kind of scan from the bottom up. Now, again, I don't want you to get hung up on, okay, I need to place this here and I need to place that there. My goal with this stronger photo composition 4-step system is to have you kind of take a photo, intuitively set up the scene. Step number 1 is where do you position yourself and your camera, and that's, which angles you hold it, how far away you step back. And then step number 2 is where you position the main subject. So in here we're talking about position it off to the left, or in a landscape down to the bottom of the frame. Step number 3 is where you position all the other focal elements, the contextual background. And step number 4 is the exciting bit where we then go and edit, and we do things like this bee, for example. Now, I wanted the background to kind of provide the context, provide that ground to the figure, but I didn't want it to attract the eye. I wanted the bee to attract the eye. So what I did here was I used some of those compositional tools that I talk about to brighten certain areas, increase the contrast, that sort of thing, which is really cool. Alrighty, I think that's about it. Almost 15 minutes. That's what I want. I want to try and keep these under 15 minutes, so they're kind of just bite-sized, a little bit of information, and turn up each day for you. Just have a quick look at my notes. Yeah, fantastic. All right. If there's a compositional technique that you've heard of, like like Sam did yesterday. He sent me an email saying rule of thirds. I've heard about it. I hear about it quite a lot. I've even got it in my iPhone, but I don't actually understand what it does. Yeah, just hit me up on the email or comment below, and I'll fast track that and bring that forward. And because I'm